5 through 7, it says this. The next day, the rulers and the elders and the teachers of the law met in Jerusalem. Annas, the high priest, was there. And so were Caiaphas, John, Alexander, and the other men of the high priest's family. They had Peter and John brought before them and began to question them. By what power or what name did you do this? Peter and John were tested in this moment. Have you ever been tested? Oh, I'm not just talking about school. I mean tested in life. That night when we finally pulled into the Tucson parking lot of this hotel, we thought we were going to enjoy our sleep, but our sleep was alarmingly interrupted. We pulled in and we had a great, we were planning a 13 to 14 hour trip, plus the 2 to 3 hour detour, plus having kids. Do the math, you always have to double it when you have kids. There's potty breaks and snack breaks and all that kind of thing. But when we finally arrived at the hotel and called it a night, we were interrupted that morning at 3 a.m. in the morning by an alarm. And I'm not talking about the alarm down the hall. Maybe if you're in the dorms, Daniel, you know what I'm talking about. There's a little alarm. You got to go out to the grass and everybody's okay, just to check. No, this alarm was in our hotel room. And it was with a flashing strobe light. I've never been more awake at 3 a.m. in my life. Andrew's screaming bloody murder. Ellie's, in shock. She doesn't know what to do. I'm trying to find the lights, tripping over our luggage. It was amazing. So the hotel was very lucky, or God was giving me patience. We didn't go have words with the hotel manager at that time. It turns out it was a false alarm. My patience was wearing thin that morning. Maybe this alarm was something like what went off in Peter's head when the Pharisees had brought Peter into the courtroom and questioned him. Keep in mind, these were the very same people that condemned Jesus to the cross. What was Peter thinking? What was running through his mind as he was being talked to? His teacher, his master, his Lord was condemned by these people. Peter has to make some decisions, right? How's he going to choose to respond? What's he going to say? Peter's mind might have taken him back to another time in his life when a situation got out of control. When he needed to respond quickly. And maybe you can remember this situation. Go back to the Garden of Gethsemane. Somebody tries to grab Jesus and whoosh. What happens? Peter pulls out the sword, He didn't bear arms. He didn't choose to hold and hug. He cut off an ear. What is Jesus' response? Does anybody remember? It's right here. Let's look at it. Matthew 26:52, it says this. Put your sword back in its place. For all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you think I cannot call my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? That's a lot of angels. And what did Jesus say? I could have asked for it. It would have been here, Peter. Put the toy away. Put the knife away. Peter remembers what happened. Back to our courtroom scene. Peter realizes his life is not his own. His life belongs to Jesus. Pastor, I remember in your book, you had to do that as well. Your son's life wasn't yours. It was God's, and it was in God's hands. That's how we have to choose to live our lives. Peter made a choice to follow his Lord and walk humbly through the test. Even though this turn in his maze was very difficult, Peter chose to remain self-controlled and persevere through this test. Jesus says this, and Daniel went here this morning with the youth. Jesus says in John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And nobody comes to the Father except through me. He is the way. He didn't say, I'm a way. He didn't say, I'm an easy way. He said, the way. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Here's our third point this morning, third truth. In the maze of life, we have to, we must, and we will stand up. We have to take a stand. We have to be bold. We have to say what we believe in. Not coward, and let the Spirit lead. Just like this morning, we invited the Spirit to be here among us, to equip us, empower us. Let's pick up our story. It says, then Peter, filled with the Holy Spirit, said to them, I love this. Rulers of the people and you elders, are you questioning us about the good thing that was done to a crippled man? Are you asking us who made him well? We want all of you and all the people to know that this man was made well by the power of Jesus Christ from Nazareth. You crucified him, but God raised him from the dead. This man was crippled, but he is now well and able to stand here before you because of the power of who? Of Jesus, that's right. Jesus is the stone that you builders rejected, which has become the cornerstone, the most important stone. Jesus is the only one who can save the people. No one else in this world is able to save us. Have there been times in your life where you've said something and you look back and say, oh, did I say that? I wonder if Peter's thinking that at this point. But notice what it said early on. It said, filled by the Holy Spirit. Who was speaking through Peter? That's right, it wasn't Peter. It was the Holy Spirit using Peter. He was his mouthpiece. This is probably one of those times for Peter. And did you notice it was the Holy Spirit? It wasn't Peter speaking. Think back to another passage where Jesus asked the disciples, who do you say I am? Who do you guys say I am? The disciples replied, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. But what about you, he asked. Who do you say I am? Simon Peter answers, you're the Christ. You are the Son of the living God. And Jesus replies with this, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by man, but by who? By my Father in heaven. This was a time in Peter's life where he stood tall. He stood. He didn't back down. He didn't cower. And we need to stand as well. I want to read you one of the songs some of the teens in our youth group sing. It's called The Stand. It says, you stood before creation, eternity in your hearing. You spoke the life or the earth into motion, my soul now to stand. You stood before my failures. You carried the cross for my shame. My sin weighed upon your shoulders. My soul now to stand. But what can I say? What can I do? But offer this heart of God. Offer this completely to you. So I'll walk upon salvation, your spirit alive in me, this life to declare your promise, my soul now to stand. So what can I say? What can I do? But offer this heart, oh God, completely to you. And here's the part that it's just like this eruption when our teens sing this. So I'll stand with arms high and hearts abandoned, in awe of the one who gave it all. And I'll stand, my soul, Lord, to you surrendered. All I am is yours. We have to stand. We have to stand. We have to know the truth. But we don't have to do it on our own. God is right next to us. The Holy Spirit is empowering us. Here's the fourth truth this morning. In the maze of life, we have to walk with Jesus. Probably a no-brainer, right? For most of us, we're like, yeah, Jeremy, I understand that. I get that. But how many times do we forget when we're in the middle of a test or a trial and we forget that Jesus has got this? He's gone before us. Acts 4:13 says, when they saw the courage of Peter and John and realized that they were unschooled, ordinary men, they were astonished, and they took note that these men had been with Jesus. You know, when I pass on from this life, this is the one thing that I want said about me. Jeremy walked with Jesus. That's awesome. Doesn't matter about my hot rods, and if you get to know me, I really don't have any, but I claim my little blue pickup truck is one. It doesn't matter about the stuff I have. It doesn't matter the degrees. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is if and have I been with Jesus? Have I walked consistently with Christ? How about you guys? How's that going? How's that going making sure that Jesus has gone before you and you are following him? Did Peter remember when he first met his Christ? his Lord. He was fishing. You guys remember this story? He was fishing. The disciples were fishing. And Jesus says to Peter, and this is, by the way, this is Peter's boat. He says, Peter, I want you to go on out into the deep. I wonder if Peter was thinking, who are you? You're just this teacher guy, and you're telling me to cast my boat out to the deep. Peter chooses, okay, I'll do that. They get out there, and Jesus says, Peter, throw your nets over there. Right? You remember that story? And they choose. The disciples do that. Peter says, okay, I'll do that. And then the disciples were awestruck. After the obedience, they were awestruck at the amount of fish that they pulled in. They pulled in so many fish that the boats began to sink, because there were two. And they couldn't pull in all the fish, right? Or they did, but the boats were sinking. And then Jesus asked Peter to leave everything and to become a fisher of men and to follow him. Jesus was calling him to walk with him. In Luke 5 it says this, then Jesus said to Simon, don't be afraid, from now on you will catch men. So they pulled up their boats on shore, left everything, and followed him. Catch this, the highest calling in life is to follow Jesus. That is the highest calling. So why do we struggle so much? Peter realized that he didn't have to have it all. He just had to walk with the one who does. Lastly, here's our last point this morning. In the maze of life, there is an amazing life ahead of us. Storing up treasures in heaven, bearing fruit, adventure, there's victory. And by the way, we know how this whole story ends. We get to be in heaven with Jesus Christ. So let's take everybody with us. Right? That should be our war cry. Let's go out and take this world for Jesus. It's a great finish. You may have noticed I missed a verse in this whole story. Verse number 4, because I think it's a great verse and I saved it for last on purpose.